As a human being, what do you think can be the greatest disservice that you could do to yourself? Is it not taking care of your mind and body? Is it not building a supportive, healthy community? Or, is it being overly critical of yourself, setting unrealistic expectations, or having irrational demands from yourself and the world around you? आई थिंक द लिस्ट कुड बी एंडलेस बिकॉज आखिरी में हम खुद ही हमारे सबसे बड़े दुश्मन होते हैं एंड वी डोंट रियली नीड someone else to sabotage our life for us because we do that enough on our own. That's what I feel. And to answer my own question, I think that the greatest disservice that you could do to yourself is depriving yourself of things that give you pleasure. It could be the smallest thing in the world, but maybe you're coming from a place of guilt, maybe you're coming from a place of shame, or maybe you're just conscious of investing time in this activity or this thing that brings you pleasure. But if you keep depriving yourself of things based on how someone else might react to it or how you would be perceived because of it, you don't realize this, but in that process, you keep cutting parts of yourself, and at the end of it, you're no longer who you used to be. And for my friends who have been chronic people pleasers and have been making their lives miserable because they don't want to set boundaries because, oh, what if the other person feels bad? I don't want to say no. I don't want to be the bad guy. There's this post that I came across, and I'm sure most of you might have seen this, but it's like, oh, so you're a people pleaser? Name 3 people who have been pleased by you. And of course, I don't come from a moral high ground here. I have been a people pleaser. I still am in certain situations, but I am trying to learn new ways to make myself happy and protect my interests over this wasted attempt of keeping other people happy because they will never be happy. So you're just wasting your own energy. As for me, the one thing that I really used to shame myself for liking was shopping. And I know what you must be thinking. Shopping is so basic. Like, everybody shops, everybody buys stuff. So what makes your thing so special? It's not really special. It's just something that I used to do because, especially as a girl, when you like shopping or when someone hears you say this, that, oh, I love shopping, they just make it such a condescending, frivolous thing that, oh, you're a woman, of course you like shopping. And I know that there is nothing wrong with liking shopping, but only those people who have been in that position where they've had to defend their liking or defend the pleasure that they used to get from shopping, like, only those people get this particular situation, and you feel defensive for no reason. Like, now when I look back, I realize that there is absolutely no reason for me to feel guilty about liking shopping. Everybody shops. And especially when I started this healing journey of mine, I have been revisiting things that used to give me pleasure, but I just stopped associating with those activities out of this weird guilt of liking them. I think maybe that's how people made me feel, or I was in situations where I felt the need to be ashamed of liking this particular thing. But now that I grow up, like now as I grow up, I realized that there is nothing wrong with liking those things or deriving pleasure out of doing those things, no matter how common or how mundane they are. If it makes you happy, it makes you happy, and you do not need to explain that to anyone else. And this brings me to a very weird but interesting incident that happened with me a few days ago. So I was scrolling through Instagram normally, like you do, and out of nowhere, I got this massive wave of anxiety with a small a, after seeing people going on vacations and they have their work thing going on, and just, people doing things which made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. And in that moment, I felt very overwhelmed. And almost instantly, I fell into that spiral of, oh, I'm not doing enough. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, this is not sorted. Oh, this is another thing I have to figure out. Blah, 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 blah. It's an endless list. Once you start unraveling it, it is endless. And I don't know, to sort of break myself out of that, I just closed that app. I went on to another app, and surprisingly, that was an app for shopping. And as I was scrolling, I could just hear those voices in my head quiet down. I didn't realize it as it was happening, but once it hit me, once I was in a calm state of mind, I realized what just happened. Like in a span of minutes, like 1 minute I was on Instagram, I was scrolling through reels, I have all of this background chatter in my head, and the next minute I'm on a shopping app and everything has gone calm. Everything in my head is silent, and I'm just peacefully, calmly looking at the clothes, looking at the shoes, this, that, just scrolling through peacefully. And in that moment, it hit me why it's called retail therapy. These two words being placed adjacent to each other made so much sense to me in that moment. I've been hearing this for years, and I have experienced that dopamine rush that you get after buying something. You know, that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling of excitement that you can't wait to go home and try that thing. I felt that feeling. But even without going through the actual shopping process, I could just imagine myself being happy or feeling fulfilled in the future. I was just happy with the idea of it. And surprisingly, this was not even the most interesting part of the whole incident. As I was scrolling, before I could, you know, just start putting things in my cart and get that instant fix, I realized that, oh, I already have this thing. Oh, I already got something similar. So instead of jumping on to buying something impulsively, I suddenly got this question in my head that, oh, do I really need it? Oh, do I have the space for it? I genuinely felt like I was my mom in that moment. Oh, will I really wear it? Oh, I have something similar. Do I really need it? That transition from wanting to switch apps to shut down the noise in my head to feeling that rush of dopamine as I see those clothes and shoes and accessories to suddenly being this zen person that, oh, I don't need this. Oh, I'm very fulfilled with what I have. And in fact, the funniest part is that instead of, you know, adding clothes to my cart impulsively, I found clothes that I already had, and I just started mixing outfits in my head that, oh, I can probably pair it with this. It might look good. So, this one random online shopping incident led to so many things being put in place in my head. इतने सारे जाले साफ हो गए, I can't tell you. The first thing that I realized was that I need to admit to myself, without any pressure, without any shame, without any guilt, that yes, I do enjoy this activity. Yes, I do like shopping. So, I am a woman and I like shopping. Sue me. The second thing that I realized was why retail therapy is called retail therapy, because it is an experience like nothing else. And it's a very, if you get it kind of a situation. But yeah, there is that dopamine rush of buying something that you like, and that excitement and anticipation of waiting for an event where you can wear it. It's priceless. You can't replace it with something else. The most important lesson of it all, when it comes to buying stuff, you need to shut out your impulsive thoughts that tell you to buy stuff that you don't need, to impress people that you don't like. 9 times out of 10, what we're looking for is either inside us or around us, or sometimes even lying in our closets. And as I was talking about all of these things that make you happy, I realized that the key to being happy as an adult, in most cases, is going back to things that you used to enjoy as a kid. So, me finally accepting that I love shopping and I have loved it for my entire life is a great adulting moment, as well as it's a great moment for my inner child. Another important lesson that I learned as a recovering people pleaser is that being an adult gives you this very important superpower that maybe you didn't have as a kid. And that power is the ability to say no to things, to people, to events, to situations. Just saying no. And this one little word has so much power. Not only that, it gives you so much power. And especially as a woman, we don't realize how much power this one word can give us. And that's because we are invariably put in positions or situations where we have to value other people's needs or their interests above our own, which is a horrible precedent to set, by the way, because this is subtly telling your brain that, oh, my needs and my interests are not as important as the other person's. If I'm being honest, I too have been guilty of doing this and, being in a situation where I couldn't differentiate between what I wanted versus what was wanted from me or what was expected out of me. And I would constantly mess up the two expectations that I had versus what other people had. So it was a mess. But lately, I've been doing this one thing that has really helped me realize what I want. It has really helped me not just in setting boundaries and realizing what my boundaries are in the first place, but this one small habit has also helped me a lot in enforcing boundaries, which is the most important part after knowing what you want to accept. The second step is actually enforcing that boundary. And that simple thing, my friends, is the ick. What is it? I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, but the ick is just a kind of disgusted or weirded out reaction that you might have to something that you don't like. Like, let's say if someone sits near you and is picking their nose and you find that really disgusting, you'd probably get up and leave, right? Or you'd probably ask the person to not do it around you at least. So you realize what icks you out, and then you set that boundary, you communicated it, and the problem is solved, at least for the time being. Let's say you're talking to someone new and they are being kind of flaky and they're being disrespectful of your time. For example, you know, you have been left on delivered for hours now and they're not responding to you at a normal, acceptable time frame. Instead of instead of jumping into that pit that, oh, what did I do? Maybe they're unhappy with something that I did, or like, oh, I'll double text that person. Maybe they're busy. Instead of making excuses for that person, you just realize that, oh, I want a person who responds to me on time. I want someone around me who respects my time and my efforts into the conversation. So this thing is just, ew, like, this is disgusting. Like, I am not accepting this. So bye. That is the sign that you shouldn't be around this person. It's that simple. You don't even need a justification or an explanation as to why that particular behavior was pissing you off or irritating you or irking you in any way. You don't need to explain that to anyone. Just as long as you're respecting your own limits, your own boundaries, emotional and otherwise. So, not only is your ick helping you set boundaries as to what you want to accept and what you don't want around you, it's also helping you protect yourself from unwanted experiences or unwanted people. And what I used to do before was that I would simply ghost the person. Even I wouldn't fully understand why this thing is not sitting well with me. Either that, or I would go completely crazy and, even double text, triple text at times, call them that, oh, why aren't you seeing my text? I know that you're busy. You either ghost the person or you end up making unnecessary excuses for them, and they don't always deserve that. So now you have a valid reason for yourself and for the other person in case they ever ask that, oh, why did you stop talking to me? Or like, oh, why do you walk away from the conversation? This is why. You did something that I didn't appreciate. I'm out. So, all in all, what I take away from aaj ka conversation is that A, you should do things that make you happy. You shouldn't be ashamed or guilty or even conscious about doing things that make you happy, no matter how simple or how small they are. Second, it's very important to be honest to yourself in this case. If you truly want to enjoy something, you first need to accept that, yes, I like doing this thing. Yes, I am a woman and I like shopping. It is what it is. Another important lesson is that the way to enforce boundaries is to first realize what your boundaries are and sort of harnessing your intuition and realizing what icks you out can really help you in that process. And finally, the superpower of being an adult is the ability to say no. These are little joys of life, I feel. So, this was episode 13 of Thought Vault, Joys of Womanhood and Adulting. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your time. And as always, if you have any feedback, any questions, any suggestions on what I should talk about, feel free to reach out to me via Instagram. The handle is Thought Vault Podcast. You can find it in the bio. And I'll see you next week.